Hi everyone, today I'm going to take you through how I created this painting, so keep watching. I'm starting with the outline and then I'm going to add some basic features so I know what to work off of. And then I'm going to go in and lay down the foundations for my darkest darks. I'm using not just black but deeper, richer colors as well, like a deep eggplant and a very, very dark green and red in the shadows because I want to make the shadows have the feeling of actual skin. So I'm bringing the darkness down to the side of the face as well, and keep in mind that even in the dark you're going to have highlights. Not all dark is completely dark, it's got variation too, and I'm trying to bring that forward in the darker side of the face as well. I'm not dwelling too much on the details of the face. I am just going in and blocking off entire sections and adding some definition so that I can come back in and work on it later. And I don't usually use a blending tool, but for some smaller areas and because my hand is really messy and dirty, I do use a small little blending stump meant for pastels. I do like that for getting into the details. And I will have in the description box below a list of all the tools and possibly pastels that I've used. I say possibly because I use a lot of them and sometimes I can't keep track, but I will do my best to be as descriptive as I can because I know that is helpful and that would be information that I would find useful. I'm working on the mustache and the lips, and I didn't just use black, and I used a very dark green. Again, repetition from the side of the face so that it feels very cohesive. So now we're just going to jump to the clothing. I'm just laying down the basic shapes again just because I want to see how everything looks and how I want to work out the entire painting, because the clothing is a large part of this painting. Even though the man is looking at you, his shawl and his turban are going to play front and focus in this painting, so I have to figure out how I want to work it out. So that's why it's really important for me right now to give context even to the background so I can see how to push the clothing and how to push the colors and the blues in there. This is why context is so important, because now that I have some colors next to the face, I know what to do with the colors of the face. I know where to push my darks and where to push my lights to make the painting look better overall. Now that the face looks a little bit better, I'm going to go and add some definition to the turban, add more darks, and even here, I'm not just using plain black. I'm layering black, but I'm adding a different color on top, like a very deep eggplant color for the darks, because I want the darks to be softer and more interesting than just plain black. And I'm really playing with the way the light makes the folds stand out and how they kind of mirror the dark and the light areas of the face. Because I want the clothing to stand out, I really like that color that I have on the left side of the painting, and that's color I'm repeating. And so it creates this harmony where the colors that stand out, those are ones that will take center stage. And the ones that I repeat, they will allow other colors to take center stage. And even the cow that I'm working on right now, it's very much in the family of the man's skin tone and the background, so it won't compete with the clothing. The clothing is a beautiful blue and the turban is a beautiful bright red, and those are the colors that I really want to have stand out. I'm using a lot of the same colors on the calf as I did on the man, and I am playing with the strokes that I can make more because I don't want there to be soft strokes. I want there to be almost like a fur-like feeling when I make a mark on the pastel board. I usually play with complementary colors in some way or the other in my paintings, and this is no different. The red of the turban, it's going to contrast with the darkness of his skin where I used a lot of green. And the main focus, I think, the blue, it really contrasts with the oranginess and the peachiness of his skin, of the calf, and of the background too. So it's always a fun way to see how you can incorporate complementary colors in paintings. And I'm layering various shades so that I can get variation even in the background in the peach. Some of it is a little bit darker, some of it is a little bit lighter, and that keeps the background from reading too flat. I really wanted to play with the way the light touches the shawl in this painting and the way that it makes the embroidery reflect. And in the darks, I really wanted to bring about a feeling of soft light touching it, even in the shadows. So I'm adding brighter blues to create a feeling of darkness and depth, but also of light. And this way it feels like it's much darker than the parts in the light, but that there's still variation in the dark. And I'm going and putting in the design of the shawl, and I'm trying to keep in mind the way the design moves and the way it reflects light. And I'm going to go in later, even though I'm working on the cow right now, I'm going to go in later and give even the highlights of the design variation. I find it easier to get the pattern on the shawl all there first before I go in and change the values of the patterns. So I'm going to go in and I'm just seeing how the pattern moves along with the folds of the shawl. Once I get the main patterns done, I'm going to go in with a peachy pink, a little bit lighter but a little bit more peachy pink shade, and add highlights to the pattern. And once I feel satisfied, I'm going to go into the lighter areas and I'm going to flesh them out and then add the pattern there as well. And this time I'm going to go in with a darker pastel. And I'm just going to work with the way the pattern flows in all the nooks and crannies of the shawl first before I go in and try to change any of the pattern and any of the values. So now I'm just going to go jump to the calf. I tend to do that a lot, jump from part to part, just because I want to tackle the whole painting rather than just get stuck on one part. And it is easy for me to get stuck on one part, so I really try to do this consciously. I'm finishing up the sleeve of his clothing right under the calf, and I'm using a little bit cooler shades to contrast with the warmth of the calf's fur. So really in this painting, I wanted to juxtapose light to dark, warm to light, and blues to oranges and reds to greens. That's basically the fundamental backbone of this painting. And as you can tell with the legs of the calf, I'm really pushing the colors to have a little bit more of a mark. They're much more jaggedy edges that I make, much more fur-like, so that it doesn't look so smooth and it looks like a little bit of a suggestion of fur. I'm just fleshing out more of this area, so I'm getting the snout, I guess it's what's called, of the calf, adding some highlights, and really developing the clothing of the man and what he's wearing. I actually forgot to hit record right after this, so this will be the last section where you can see me working on it. And I made a silly mistake. But I hope you were able to see how I got from A to Z with this painting. I know we're missing a little bit of footage, but here we go. This is the final painting. If you like this painting, please check out the links below and check out my other videos. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you